We have the candidates for Town of Pomfret Council. At this moment, one of the candidates did not show up, but we can continue anyhow because there are two. The same debate rules apply. We have 2 minutes to respond to a question they received prior to this meeting and include a brief presentation discussing their qualifications. Candidates have the ability to question one another, and members of the audience can ask questions of any candidate or all the candidates. If you're viewing this at home, you should call 664-1346, and that way you'll be able to ask a question of the candidates from your armchair, if you so desire. In this debate, responses to questions now will be 2 minutes, and rebuttals will be 1 minute. And at the end of the question period, each candidate will have 1 minute for a few closing words. This is the question they received prior to this meeting, and that is, what is the most urgent problem facing the town of Pomfret, and what is the one thing you would do to help solve it? If elected, we will begin with Mr. Sedota.
Hello, my name is John Sedota, and I'm seeking the office of Pomfret Town Councilman. I'd like to start out by thanking the League of Women Voters for this opportunity, as well as thanks to all the citizens who showed up tonight to attend this debate. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Fredonia, where I currently own a home. I also attended college at Fredonia State, where I earned a Bachelor's of Arts degree. And I'm also a veteran of the United States Army. I served an initial 2-year enlistment, and then while pursuing my degree, during my college studies, I was interrupted and recalled to active duty in support of Operation Desert Storm and Desert Shield. I was fortunate to serve in Germany during the war despite expensive desert training I obtained during my initial enlistment. I reside in Fredonia with my family, my wife. We're currently raising a grandson. We have 3 adult children, 2 of them who are attending college, and 1 who works full-time in Buffalo. Prior to my employment with the county, I have 20 years of experience in both the public and private sector. Currently employed by the county, where I've worked for 17 years. 10 years of that has been in a supervisor position, managing a team that works with the adolescent population. Prior to that, I obtained private sector experience, working in many different capacities, but upon graduation from college, I worked as an assistant manager and also a store manager in the retail. And during my employment in the private sector, I had the privilege of working for many excellent businessmen who taught me many valuable lessons about effective leadership and managing private business. I appreciate the opportunities and experiences that I gained in the private sector. However, I felt that my calling was ultimately to serve the public. Working in the public sector has presented many interesting challenges and opportunities, as well as many rewarding experiences. Over the years, I've worked with
Thank you. 2 minutes are up. Mr. Christie.
All right, thank you all for coming today. My name is Brett Christie, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters. I think my name tag's fallen down 3 times now, so I'll just leave it down.
Oh, you didn't have a brace. That's all right.
No, we'll try it one more time. But anyways, born and raised in the town of Pomfret. Lived most of my life here. All right. I currently enjoy living in the village of Fredonia, and I have some property in the town of Fredonia also. Family of 4, married for 15 years to my lovely wife, Jennifer. I have 2 kids. Thank you. I have 2 kids that currently go to Fredonia School. I started my career after I got out of college at Alfred State with an electrical engineering degree up in the village of Mayville, working for their DPW, which I think has gained me a lot of respect for the operation of government. That includes the electric systems, water systems, where I'm currently a New York State water operator. Due to that, managing the streets and roads and working in the cemeteries, that has given me a lot of operational background to fulfill these next years of duty. After leaving Mayville, I currently work for a local utility company that I supervise a block of men that work restoring power in a local area building the infrastructure, so on and so forth. When I'm not working, which seems like a lot, but when I'm not, I enjoy coaching football. I am currently a midget league football coach for the last 4 years, and I enjoy Little League baseball coaching also with the kids. I've worked on many community committees. Once, some of them you've heard of, is the Fredonia Central School initiative, working on trying to build some better sports complexes for our kids locally here. Not only for the kids, but the safety of grandparents, parents, whoever does come and see these kids play. I also spent some time in local fire department when I was in Mayville as a fire chief. So I see my little stop envelope there, so I'll stop it at that. I here to serve the public. Thank you.
We're now going to open our meeting again to questions and answers, and as usual, hope you have a lot. Again, if you want to ask a question, simply stand and please don't make statements, but instead we're interested in the response. Just let me make one more reminder that you may call 664-1346 if you have a question at home.
Thank you. The first, yep.
Okay, I was wondering how each of you feel about consolidating the town with the village of Fredonia.
Mr. Sado?
Well, I've worked in the public sector for many years, and that's been a recurring theme, consolidation. Basically, for me to support consolidation, I'd have to be convinced that it was actually going to save money, and without the services being compromised. Unfortunately, what I've seen through the years, people talk about consolidation, and it usually entails just moving things around. So I think to truly make consolidation work, I'd have to see that it was going to be beneficial. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I guess I would say it would depend on the proposal, and I'd have to look at it, and I'd ask some pretty tough questions about how effective it would actually be before I could support it.
I think it is a great question. I think it's three-part. One is it going to save taxpayers, everybody in this room, money? Is it going to save us money annually? 2, is it going to save jobs? What is it going to do to that part of it? And 3, does it make sense to gain services for everybody involved? None of us want to lose any services, whether it be street maintenance or anything. We've got to continue to beef up services for the residents of the town of Pomfret and the village of Fredonia.
Thank you. You guys do better with 1-minute responses. Is the water project with Fredonia proceeding well in your opinion, and if not, what needs to be done? We'll start with Mr. Christie.
Yes, I do believe it's proceeding very well. We're close to 90% done. Last I heard, without too many expenditures, digging into that slush money that was kind of set aside for unforeseen things. I know there's been one major expenditure that happened on the water project, which was encountering a gas line down on the Route 20 West Main area. But as far as I'm concerned, it's going very well. And the more people that we can get hooked up to public water, it's for the best for them.
I'd be inclined to agree with that. So I don't know how much more I can really say about that. I do believe there's some other issues regarding the Chadwick Bay area and the village. I don't know if that's a question that's going to be coming up, but.
Well, we're answering that question, and if there's another opportunity, we'll talk.
Okay, well, I think we're in agreement on that issue.
Okay, then we don't have to say any more.
Continuing, should the town and village courts be kept separate? And if so, why?
We begin with Mr. Sedota.
Well, similar to the last question, I'd really, for me to have an opinion about that, I'd have to really look at what the differences would be in services. That could be a situation that consolidation could be more effective if there's truly a lot of duplication. So in a scenario like that, I would be inclined to want to take a look at, again, if it may appear to be productive, but I'd really have to look at the numbers before I could fully support that.
Mr. Christie?
Yeah, I would agree with that, definitely. If consolidation can save us money, increase or at least stabilize services to the residents of the town, you'd have to look at the numbers and see where we could fall in that, between dollar value and services.
I think our timekeeper's going to have an easier time this evening.
We're both new to politics.
Our next question. Should have separated you two. SUNY Fredonia now has a program to engage college students in helping the local community as part of their coursework or as volunteers. What could those students do for the town of Pomfret? We'll begin with Mr. Christie.
I think the biggest thing when it comes to students is getting them out, letting them learn the basics of what happens in business. And if our local businesses can reap the benefits of having students, helping them out, coming up with strategic plans of how that they can manage their businesses better, I think it could be a win-win between the businesses of the town of Pomfret and the SUNY Fredonia students.
Thank you. Mr. Sedoti, you want to comment on that?
Sure. Actually, working for the county, we've had the opportunity on the team that I supervise. We've taken in interns over the years, and I always think it's a good opportunity for the college to be involved in the community and really get a firsthand look of how things work in the real world. You know, in college, you know, you learn a lot of philosophy and theory, and you know, I think that's a great opportunity for the community to also work together with the college. I think we have a lot of potential, you know, with the college being there for opportunities for them to learn, as well as I know from taking on interns, you can actually learn a lot, you know, from bringing in people from the college. So.
Thank you. Next question.
If Governor Cuomo lifts the moratorium on horizontal hydrofracking, would you do anything to encourage or discourage it in the town?
We'll begin with Mr. Sedota.
Well, I'm not an expert on hydrofracking. The things I've learned or heard from people that know a little bit about it, you know, I have concerns about the impact they could have. I think one of the candidates earlier made a good point that, you know, depending on who you believe, some people make it sound like it's a major threat to the water supply and that could destroy the environment. People who support it, you know, tend to say otherwise. So I think really more needs to be known about the issue. Obviously, I believe we need to do what is going to be the best, make the best decisions for local businesses and for the economy. However, you know, if it could result in a major catastrophe to the water supply, then I think we'd have to be wary of that.
Mr. Christie?
I think my number one concern in Chautauqua County, we live and breathe with fresh water around here. From Chautauqua Lake to Lake Erie, I think our fresh water is paramount for the lifestyle that we currently have today and going forward. I'm very disappointed that the manufacturers of the chemicals that I'm not really familiar with cannot come out and tell us what it does, what's in it. So I'd really have to look at some really solid research if the governor's office did lift the moratorium. I'd have to do a lot of research on that. But I think our fresh water in our county is paramount to what this area is all about.
Thank you very much. Next question. In your opinion, what is the meaning of party affiliation at this local level? In other words, do you see Democratic and Republican issues in the town? We'll begin with Mr. Christie.
When it comes to R&Ds, I believe that we have to work together cooperatively to solve the financial issues, service issues, and I think when we do work together, any group of people can gain good things and have a great outcome.
Thank you. Mr. Sedota?
I believe at the local level, I really think a lot of it comes down to issues other than really what the party's supposed to stand for. I'm a Republican. However, many of my friends and family, you know, are Democrats. And I believe that Republicans and Democrats should be able to work together. I think that having differences of opinion is very important, and I think that's why we have debates such as tonight, so we can air those differences. However, I think sometimes party politics can get in the way of accomplishing the work that really needs to be done after the election is over. And if I'm elected to this position, then I will reach across the aisle and work with the other party to try and get things done. That doesn't mean there won't be, hopefully, some spirited debate, when there are some differences. But ultimately, I believe that at the local level, the partisan squabbling, I don't believe it's helpful to the citizens. I think it's sometimes gotten in the way of accomplishing things that could really be done.
Are there any questions in the audience? Do the candidates have any questions for one another?
I do not.
You don't have any questions for Mrs. Sedota?
I do have a question for Mr. Schaefer.
Go ahead.
However, he's not here to answer the
Oh.
question.
You might ask it and see if Brett can answer it.
I had one for him also, but he's not here, so we'll table that.
Okay, I have no more questions. Do you have any questions? Yes.
I was unclear as to what your motivations were for running for this position, so for both of you.
We'll begin with Mr. Sedota.
Well, my motivation is I believe that in the town and in the village, I believe that we have excessive taxation. I believe that my experience working in the county is something that I could use to help try and rein in the tax burden. I have experience looking at budgets. Actually, I'm currently a treasurer with a local CSEA, so I do have experience, with financial reports and such. And I believe my experience can be used to help contribute to solving some of the problems in the town. But I largely see that basically the tax burden is the one thing that I really feel needs to be reined in the town of Pomfret, and I believe that's something that I could work with the current board on helping implement lower taxes for everyone.
Great question. I think I'm going to go down that same line also. Taxes, none of us around here like to pay taxes. I think we can all agree that we all pay too many taxes. And a lot of the taxes that we do have to pay are from the top down. So I guess I want to understand those taxes and work with local governments to look at how we can possibly reduce those taxes locally that we have the ability to work with. Better maximize services to reduce taxes locally.
Okay.
Here's a question.
I'd just like to ask a question. I know that you brought up earlier Chadwick Bay, and I know it was discussed earlier, Chadwick Bay. Could you tell me what your understanding of the Chadwick Bay Dream Project is?
My understanding is that there's a proposal to basically create a water authority, which would combine several of the water districts, including Fredonia, which would entail shutting down the reservoir. My feelings about creating authorities, I think of the Thruway Authority and all the tolls we pay every time we go to Buffalo or someplace. And also some of the projections that I've looked at, my understanding is that it would actually raise the water rate in the village of Fredonia by about $1.62 per 1,000 gallons. So, unless somebody convinced me otherwise, I don't believe that at this point in time that that's something that I would support. The other issue I have with an authority is that you have generally unelected officials who may be political appointees who are in charge of these types of authorities, and I believe basically people need to, especially people who have the ability to raise rates or control rates, I believe that should be done by elected officials, not by political appointees.
Mr. Christie?
I would agree with all that. I mean, I think when we talk about Chadwick Bay, it's the whole encompassing of everything that's going on in our area. And I think we have to have it managed by government officials, definitely. And I think as part of a town board, we can have our input that would best serve our voice and the voice of the public in trying to do the right thing for our area.
Thank you. We're going to close now.
The closing statement, a minute each, and we begin with Mr. Christie.
Thank you. You've heard both John and I talk tonight about taxes. An hour before this meeting, I spent an hour across the road sitting and listening to the town board work collaboratively together and trying to reduce our taxes as much as possible. I think if you elect me to town board, I have no problem working collaboratively with any group of government and the town board, and I'm looking forward to doing that for all of us.
Mr. Sedota?
I come to you tonight asking for your vote. I feel that my experience with government and in the private sector puts me in a good position to be able to hopefully make some significant changes in the way we conduct business in the town. We really do, I believe, need to rein in taxes at the town level. I agree that, you know, when you look at the town compared to all the other taxes we pay, you know, sometimes it might not seem that much, but as a property owner myself, it just seems like everywhere you look, the taxes are only going in one direction. I believe we need to turn that around, and I believe that with my experience and my abilities to work, you know, with the current board, which I see that as, I believe that the current board does have potential to go in that direction. So I appreciate your time, and hopefully the two of us will be sitting on the town board come January.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Candidates for Chautauqua County Legislature. Mr. Coughlin, Mr. Scudder, Mrs. Keefe, Mr. Sullivan, Mrs. Baldwin, and Mr. Nebel. The same debate rules apply as in the last session we had. They will respond to a question received prior to this meeting and include a brief presentation about their qualifications. I hope you remember that when candidates are responding to questions, you have to determine if indeed they are answering the question and if it is something that you care about. And if it's not, then you should ask a question as well. They will be able to question one another, and of course, members at home, people at home who would like to question the candidates can call 664-1346. Replies will be limited to 2 minutes and rebuttals to 1 minute. And at the end of the question period, each candidate will have 1 minute for a closing statement. And here is the question they received. What is the most urgent problem facing the town of Pomfret, and what is the one thing you would do to help solve it if elected? By lottery, you saw me doing that. Ms. Baldwin will begin. Oh, for the county legislature, I'm sorry. Thank you. Sorry. I'm glad somebody's paying attention. Yes.
Okay. The most urgent problem I see with our county is our taxes keep climbing and our industry is moving out. We need to keep bringing industry back in and finding more industry. Part of my campaigning tour, I met some people that had expressed an interest earlier in the legislature to bring in a fishing industry that they already have in Ohio that brings $4 billion into the county in Ohio that could be our own. So right now I think luring industry into our county is the most important thing we can do to bring our taxes down.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you for having this this evening, and glad to be here. I have to agree with Ms. Baldwin. When you raise taxes, people leave, and job creators leave. The way we've done business in this government has not been welcoming to job creators. Elected officials don't seem to make this connection. That's the problem. They continue to add straw to a camel's back. I've had on my desk for the last couple of months the last straw game. Because you have to remember, we can only do so much before that back is going to break. 2 years ago, we were debating many of the same issues we're debating tonight. We talked about reducing the size of the legislature, and that's about the only thing that's different than 2 years ago. The concept of a regional water district was on its way 2 years ago. Now it seems to be held up. We're going to raise the cost of water because we aren't ready to work together to help the industries that need water. The Chamber of Commerce is the voice of business and industry in this county, and they're telling us we have to make changes. They are telling us we need to get a water district up here so that we can guarantee a quality and the quantity needed to keep our industries local. I had the opportunity as mayor to do a couple of things for 4 years. I proposed 4 budgets, none of which had a tax increase, and a couple had tax decreases proposed. I also got the ball running with a board that wasn't of the same political party as me to get a regional water concept going. We were working at it, but now it's at a standstill. We keep adding straw to the back, and the camel is only going to take so much. Thank you.
Mr. Scudder.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bob Scudder. I'm here as your candidate for County Legislator District Number 3. I've been a member of this community for 27 years and have gotten to know most of you, even in this room personally. I'm here tonight to let you know that I'm running for the legislature because I have the heart and passion to help Chautauqua County move forward and be proud of our accomplishments. As you know, we do face, as a county, many problems on a daily basis. Many problems are ongoing, such as taxes, job creation, and a declining population. I've heard these over and over and from many people over and over. So what is the solution? The solution is electing competent people who are willing to make difficult, informed decisions on the hard challenges that lie ahead. I am one of those people. Thank you.
Mr. Nebel.
First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters who have arranged tonight's debate and members of the public who are in the audience this evening. My name is Terry Nebel, and I am a candidate for Legislative District Number 5, which is made up of the towns of Sheridan, Arkwright, Villanova, Cherry Creek, and part of the town of Pomfret. The most important issue facing the county is high taxes, as has been mentioned, which is really stifling our economic growth. Economically, we're faced with the uncertainty of NRG. Recently, we heard about the announcement of the possible closing of Lakeshore Hospital. I believe that my experience as a former county employee and as a department head gives me insight into the workings of county government. As a real estate broker and owner of Nebel Realty for the past 6 years, I have a perspective on the struggles of small business owners. I also have a small grape farm, which gives me an insight into the needs of the agricultural community. So based on this combination of experiences, I believe that this makes me uniquely qualified to work for the voters of District 5 as their legislator. Thank you.
Mrs. Keefe.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, for hosting this event and for your efforts to promote a more transparent government. My name is Janet Keefe. I'm seeking election for the position of Chautauqua County Legislator for District 4th, the east side of Fredonia. My qualifications to be a Chautauqua County Legislator for District 4 are many. I know the district and the people of the district very well. My husband and I have raised 3 children in Fredonia. I am committed to the region. I graduated from Fredonia High School, JCC, and Fredonia State. I have worked for Chautauqua Daycare, Private Industry Council, Chautauqua Opportunities, and SUNY Fredonia. I also volunteer for agencies, many agencies and organizations. I did not feel that a woman makes a better or worse candidate, but I do feel that gives me a unique perspective on the issues. I have a great deal of energy, and I'm efficient, and I will guarantee you, if elected, I will review and understand every resolution law prior to coming up for vote. I will listen to and communicate clearly with my constituency, and I will be available and answer messages as quickly as possible. The biggest problem facing our region, in my opinion, is unemployment. The recent recession has hurt us economically. Changing and closing and relocating of local industries has hit us extremely hard. We have an interesting paradox. We have a large number of unemployed, however, a shortage of qualified workers for some fields. The solution, I think, is we need a system of retention to keep local businesses operational locally. This should be a permanent function of the IDA. There needs to be regular communication with our businesses, and systems should be in place to resolve issues. I realize that often the decision to close comes from headquarters outside of the county, but when issues can be resolved, it needs to happen in a fast, efficient manner. The next thing that needs to happen is better training for our workforce. With the labor boards, IDA, Chautauqua Works, trade associations, BOCES, adult education.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I tried.
And you were talking way fast, so.
I had a lot to say.
Mr. Coughlin.
Yes, once again, I'd like to thank the League for having us all here. Many of you know me, but it's a brief history. I'm a 1973 graduate of Fredonia High School, a 1979 graduate of Canisius College. I graduated State University of New York Buffalo Law School in 1986. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, spending 74 to 76 as a military policeman in Germany. I was the assistant district attorney in Erie County. I was the first assistant director of district attorney in Chautauqua County. I was a public defender, and I'm currently in charge of the attorney in charge of Buffalo Legal Aid, where I supervise 35 attorneys, including those in Buffalo City Court, the felony division, and also the appellate division. I am currently your legislator in Legislative District 25. Because of the downside, me and Mr. Scudder are running against each other. I also own the Brick Room with my lovely wife Donna, as I have private business experience, but I also have spent 20 years as a public servant, and I understand government and what it does. Now, we've all sat here, we know most of the things that are going on. We know some of the problems facing Chautauqua County. 1 is economic development. 2 is what's going to happen to our county home. 3, our tax burden. I could name other. But I'm going to put it right where I believe it is and what I think the problem is. Our biggest problem in Chautauqua County government right now is the lack of leadership from the current administration and lack of leadership from the majority party. And let's take the county home, for example. As of now, if you are living in another planet, they do not have the votes to sell the county home. Should we put what this administration has done is what this majority party has done is stuck its head in the sand and has not done anything that a real leadership would do. The first thing you do is you'd sit down with the union, engage in discussions that it asked you to do to reduce the costs and possibly the wages in the county home. You would take the recommendations laid out in the CGR report and try and implement those to make the savings that are possible in the county and home. And really,
Sorry.
Thank you.
well, anything else along those lines?
No,
Sure.
you're done.
Any questions along those lines?
But I'm
Another one?
sure there'll be a question about that.
Thank you.
Now, we will now open our meeting to some questions and answers, and I'm sure you have a lot. Mr.
Mr. Coughlin, I'd like to know your opinion on the county home.
Not now. We didn't finish. We have a question.
Okay.
That's funny. Okay, a question, which one was it? This one. The question is this. Many candidates claim that they'll bring new ideas to the legislature. What are some of your new ideas?
Who would like to start? Okay, they have no new ideas.
New ideas.
Mr. Sullivan?
A couple of years ago, if I may.
Sure.
The Attorney General, now Governor, proposed laws and changes to the structure of government and how we can go about changing it. Included in there are provisions that the county legislature can take a step in the regionalization and consolidation of government. we have been slow to do that. There are no industrial leaders looking to come here because we have umpteen school districts and dozens of overlapping municipal town and village governments. We need to fix that. The legislature can take a leadership role and do that. I would like to really take a hard look at what we can do, how we can encourage, what we can do to move the process along from the county level to bring about substantial change to the way we do business as a government so that we can then have success in attracting industry. Again, if we don't make those structural changes, we will never compete with those places that have already done it. If we don't have a regional water system here, we're not going to be able to compete with even places in New York. You go to Niagara County and Orleans County. They have one plant delivering water to a 40-mile stretch with one plant. It's cost savings. We need to get those cost savings. We need to be able to tell businesses that we are really doing what we can. I was the last speaker at the NRG public hearing. And one of the things I pointed out and asked them to consider was the work our community was doing to fix what we can do to fix ourselves. I talked about Brockton and Westfield being on the verge of merging. And I talked about our regional water. Unfortunately, since, when was that, August? Both of those things have come to a stop. We need to get them back on track. As a legislator in our county legislature, I want to be leading that drive to get those two things back on track.
Who else would like to respond?
I would like. I think one of the good things that we can really get involved in is Startup New York, where we can bring industry into our county through JCC and Fredonia State. Billy?
Mr. Coughlin.
Go back to my leadership again, and not the county home, but I was just going to give it what I would change as far as the budgetary process, which most people are unaware of, is the budgetary process in Mayville is nothing more than this. The county executive comes up with a budget. This year was $230-some million. He comes before the county legislature 10 days before, and the budget is dropped upon you. And you have a week to go over the budget and try and analyze what you're going to increase, what you're going to decrease, whatever. I started this year in the public safety asking to get to the budget process earlier. Bring the department heads in. Ask them to come forward. Not that they had to do it, but show me where they could reduce their budgets by 10%. Prioritize your budgets. Tell me what you absolutely need. Tell me what you absolutely don't need. I came up with almost $200,000 in the public safety. What did the Republicans do? No. We're not doing it. We're not going to take that road. There are ways to do it. It needs cooperation. It needs leadership from the top that this is the way we're going to do it. We're going to reform the budget process. We're going to be more open. We're going to be more transparent. We're going to talk to the people that are involved, including the taxpayers, and not at the last minute dump a budget on somebody and ask for an up or down vote.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to respond?
Marcia, as long as Bill's talking about the county home, I think I'll join him.
Well, the question is,
Well,
new ideas to the legislature. What are some of your new ideas? That's
okay,
the
well,
question.
this is a new idea that has to do with the county home. One of the things that the county has done is they have drilled a gas well down at the county home and infirmary. That gas well has been drilled, but it's never been connected and it has never been metered. What we need to do, folks, is we need to hook that up to the county home. And the county home could then reduce its heating bills by approximately $250,000 a year. If we had the county then sell the heating to the county home, and the county home paid for that to the county, that would generate about $250,000 a year more in revenue for the county. That money then could be used as part of the intergovernmental transfer, the IGT, to help the county home be more viable. Look, it's just a small idea, but it's something that really should be done. I am in favor of saving the county home. I get that from the folks in District 5. I think my opponent and I are on the same page as far as that particular issue. That's something that could be done. It's not a big thing, but it should be looked at.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to respond to that?
Mr.
New
Scudder.
ideas?
Mr. Scudder.
Mr. Scudder?
I have two ideas. They're not new ideas, but I think something that we can work on, being in the legislature. Number one, I think, is to look at the county home. That's a good topic tonight, and the efficiencies of the county home. I feel that let's sell it and stop the bleeding has gained the day. Unfortunately, Mr. Coggin has referred to my party, which is my party. I'll leave it at that. I don't think there has been a push to see greater efficiencies at the county home, to actually see what we can do. Now, part of those efficiencies are some labor and benefit reductions, or at least a freeze on them. That was in the CGR report. That was 2 of the 6 items that were mentioned. We seem to be failing to address those, so that needs to be taken care of. So the county home, I'd like to see more efficiencies. My other one would be new business startups, attracting businesses in. We seem to leave that to the IDA. We're not hands-on with it. I think more of it needs to come before the legislature. Maybe we have to go ask for it. I'm learning that in a lot of cases that's what we need to do to be informed. We have to go ask the tough questions. But I think there is opportunity for more industry to come to this county, and I'd actually like to see private industry that can make it on its own without the support of all the tax cuts and government incentives that have to be in place.
Anybody else? Okay.
Are we responding to that, or?
No, that was it.
No, this is just
Okay.
your
New
new
ideas.
ideas.
Okay.
Ms. Baldwin?
I've been a nurse at the county home for 33 years, and during my time there, I feel that I had, paid quite a bit of attention to what was going on, and knew that they weren't losing a huge amount of money like everybody was worried about. Frequently, it was in the pocket of the depreciation. When they would claim $2 million of depreciation, it kind of makes everybody close their purses. There are the CGR studies recommendations have not all been implemented, and they could be further implemented to make that a more viable and even break-even institution. And we certainly do need to keep it in our hands. We don't need to, just the same way that Lake Shore can just close their doors on us, we would not be able, if we'd sold this to a private entity, have any claim on it if they decided that they wanted to close it because it wasn't working for them. I also think with the tourist industry, Vermont has bike paths along with their snowmobile runs, and people come there, and it's a year-round tourism. We've got the most beautiful, beautiful county, and we could so well make that part of our tourism, because I've been spending over 1,000 doors and 4,000 miles, literally, knocking on doors, and have found that everyone wants to see something happening in our county, making business happening, bringing tourism in. They all want hunting and fishing. They all want biking and skiing and snowmobiling. And now I get to say thank you.
Okay, next question. Do you favor continuing to process waste from out of county into the county landfill?
We'll see if you can get the county home into this answer. Who would like to respond to this one?
Who's first? Who would like to respond? Mr. Scudder?
From what I've been told, we have a large area, I don't know what we call it, container, where we're dumping our garbage, whatever it's called. Sal, thank you. There's plenty of room, and we have years of waste that can be taken in, tons and tons. That's what I've been told. I've never been there, I've never looked at the hole or whatever it is, so I'm not sure. I'm in favor of bringing it in from outside, but I'm not so sure that we're charging the rate that we should be charging for it. I'm all for being less expensive than other counties or other areas that are taking it, but if we can make $1 more a ton, I think we should be doing it. I believe we made $183,000 on the landfill last year, or it's an enterprise account. It's supposed to be self-sufficient. We showed $183,000. I guess we can call it profit. If we can make more, why not make more? I guess that's my...
Thank you. Mr. Coughlin.
See, we're discussing waste. I know a lot about that. But anyways, what really would matter is the type of waste we bring into the landfill. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that landfill was properly designed to trap methane gas. And that methane gas can be used for the production of energy. So it depends on the type of waste. And I'll just give you an example about missed opportunities and missed leadership that's happened with the former administration for those that are in charge. Siemens, the electrical giant, was going to come in here and build a plant that was going to harvest that gas, build the plant, employ the people in the plant, and pay the county X number of dollars a year for that methane gas, and this administration said no. This administration said no, and the Republicans who were in charge said no. I talked to them specifically when they took over it, and they said no. It was a wasted opportunity with our waste. Thank you.
Anybody else want to respond?
Well, sure. I'm pretty sure this administration is not running for re-election. And we've had changes over the years with our operation at the landfill. I have some experience in having been in the county attorney's office when we were doing some of the initial cells that had to be built and the depth that we had to get. We have what is truly, with our landfill, a economic advantage. We got Bush Industry here years ago because we had a landfill that could take their waste at a rate that kept them competitive. That was an economic boom. We had industry coming here because we had that capability. My only concern right now with taking out a county is I don't want to be benefiting somebody from out of here with a low rate. I want to make sure we get enough, and maybe enough to cover our costs, and encourage somebody to come here and use our landfill. That is one thing industrial leaders will ask for, and they need. Unlike so many other things we do and provide as services that we've asked the industrial leaders for years to pay for us, the services we've wanted, that we've put on their back and made them pay for, the industrial use of that landfill is an important asset, and we should be using it and making money off of it.
Thank you. Does any...
Yeah. A minute.
Oh, it won't even be a minute. It'll be 5 seconds. As soon as I see Mr. Horgan distinguish himself in this administration and what he's going to do, then I'm going to bring up the prior administration.
Okay. Does anybody else want to respond to that question?
Yes, I'll respond to it. I am in favor of taking out of county waste as long as it will help reduce the cost to county taxpayers. But I do think we have to keep in mind that the expected life of the landfill was 70 years or something like that to begin with. And what happens when we fill those cells up? Where do we go to find another landfill here in Chautauqua County? I think we need to keep that in mind as well.
Anybody else want to respond to that question before we move on? Okay.
This is for all the candidates. For Mr. Coughlin and Mr. Scudder, if re-elected, and for the other candidates, if elected, how will you move county government in the right direction to promote the North County, stop its decline, and possibly consolidate the IDAs and support reform?
We'll begin with Mrs. Keefe.
I think what we need to do is we need to get the two parties to try and work together. We need to try to get the South County to realize that we are here, and we do care about our county, and we are part of our county. And I think that we really need cooperation. That's the way we're going to do it. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Sure. For the North County, we need to do what we can do for ourselves. We have a plan in place. There have been multiple studies done. We don't need more studies. It goes back to 1960. It's a regional water system. When I was mayor, I stood on Water Street Bridge in July of 2009, and we had a 10-inch water line break. We have one connection to the city of Dunkirk. The meter in that meter pit was spinning at a speed I've never seen. And we couldn't get enough water to feed the businesses on Route 60. Within the past couple of years, we had another problem and a 6-day boil water order. We need to assure our food industry that we are here, we mean business, and we're going to make sure water's available for them, and we're going to do it in a cost-competitive way so that, I mean, there are places in Arizona that produce water cheaper than we do here. That's something we can fix. We don't need the county IDA to do that, and they can't do that. We need to get the elected officials in this community to get their head out of the sand, stop looking at it as mine and me, and work together. We need to have a system that has 3 connections between the community, so the water is cycling and available, and we don't have to have the potential to shut down our system because of a 10-inch water line leak. Industry needs to know that when they open up and they need water, they're going to have it. Otherwise, they aren't going to stay here. They also need to know that we're serious about making it available to them at a cost that will keep them here. We are competing on the world basis. We're not just competing with other counties in this state. We need to be very competitive, and water is one thing we can do here for ourselves. Make that a prime tool to go forward and bring industry here. Because if you can continue to have the water and get it at a rate that keeps businesses here and industry here, we will be
Thank
set.
you. I feel like I want to do a 1-minute response to questions for some reason. We can get more in, but we'll continue.
That was the first time they put the stop sign up for me.
No, but you said everything.
You missed the first one.
Yeah, it was repetitive.
Susan, did you want to say anything about that?
Conklin has
No.
his hand up.
He said everything that needed to be said.
Okay, great. Mr. Coughlin.
Water is one of our greatest assets around here, and what we do and how we develop our water, what we do, I think we can come together and figure out how we're going to preserve that asset. We do have to get past the point of this north-south divide, but that's gone on forever. I see it in the legislature. But let's look at this more importantly as to what's going on a bigger scale to develop around here. I don't know anybody in this room that knows Sam Hoyt like I do. Sam Hoyt is the regional director, is Cuomo's front guy for economic development in Western New York. I can call Sam Hoyt anytime I want. We still have tremendous relations with Congressman Brian Higgins, even though Brian Higgins is up there and he's been involved in waterfront development and everything else. We can go to Brian Higgins. We have people we can go to help us out to develop industry and do the north end of the county, to overlook Fredonia State, not just the incubator, but the plans that Governor Cuomo has to use the facilities. The majors at Fredonia State that can somehow be put into an effect of creating employment. It's a great music school. It's a great musical engineering school. Why can't we get some type of record production? There are different ways of going about to do this. The money is going to be there. We've got to have people who are in charge that have the connections and are willing to go forward and work with the state.
Okay, our next question.
Can I follow
Sure.
up to that? Okay. Miss, as far as your question is, what we can do to get the county moving in the right direction. Look, I think one of the things would be for the county IDA to take more of an interest in the small businesses here in the northern part of the county. Look at the businesses that hire 20 people or 50 people and talk to them and see if they can't expand. Because of the tax situation in New York State, we're probably never going to have a big industry like Saturn, which they talked about 20, 25 years ago. We're not going to have a big business like that come into the northern part of the county. It's just not going to happen. But we could expand a lot of the small businesses here in the northern part of the county. 5 jobs here, 10 jobs here, 20 in another small business. That will help to create jobs and in the creation of jobs will help reduce our number one issue, which is high taxes.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Can I
Okay.
reply to myself?
No. No, you can't.
Maybe
It's not allowed.
at home you can.
I do. Okay.
What do you think of the boundaries of your new legislative district? And we'll start with Mrs. Baldwin.
Like I mentioned before, I have over 4,000 miles on my car just in knocking door to door. I haven't done anything else with my car, so I know. And so it's quite expansive. It goes all the way from Lake Erie to Conowongo Valley, and all the way to Pomfret and out to South Dayton. And many of those people are farms and small businesses, workers for other industries, people that were employed at Lake Shore that no longer may have that job and are worried about it. People that had been employed at Petrie's and now have no job. Their biggest concerns are trying to get new jobs in the area and trying to fill those factories again. I've been talking to them about, trying to get the tourist industry going. And, I've seen a lot of people with their cabins and their bed and breakfasts and other things that need to be filled up with visitors that have extra money to spend. My daughter has 4 children, my son has 2, and they have to go outside the county to get entertainment for the kids. We need to bring things into this county to give them some entertainment and a reason to spend the money they have here in our county. Thank you.
And what do you think of your legislative district? Mr. Scudder?
I was part of the process of downsizing from the 25 to the 19. I was in favor of it right from the beginning. I heard comments, don't throw me under the bus, don't make my district go this way, don't make it go that way. My stance on was I didn't want to be part of the process. I said, when you get it figured out, let me know where the boundaries are, and those will be the people I represent. So I'm happy with what's happened. The downsizing was the most important step, and that did occur, and I think the results are going to be terrific.
Ms. Keefe?
I'm very happy with my district. I couldn't walk the whole district, which I have. And it's people that I know, and it's a large district, but it's smaller than some, and I don't have to do a lot of traveling to see everyone.
Mr. Sullivan?
I think we're probably blessed with the smallest geographic district in the county. Because of the college population count for the census, you can't ask for anything better for the distance we have. We don't have to travel through 5 towns to see all of our constituents. So it's very nice. If in a perfect world, I would have loved to have seen a district that combined at least a portion of the city of Dunkirk with the town of Pomfret. No offense to sharing part of Pomfret, but the part of east of Route 60 over to that side doesn't make as much sense as I think a district somehow combining the Central Avenue corridor between the two, which would, I think, go a long way over the coming 10 years and into the future of helping to knock down those barriers between the two communities. So if we could have changed it, would have done that, but it's certainly nice having a district that, I know you walk a lot better and a lot faster than I do, so you probably make it from one end to the other in about 20 minutes. It takes about an hour for me.
I've been to every house too, so.
Who did we miss?
Mr. Coughlin.
Mr. Coughlin. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I'm easy to... Oh, good, here.
My district is District 5, and it encompasses the town of Sheridan, Arkwright, Villanova, Cherry Creek, and the part of Pomfret that Mike just talked about. It's a large district, and we have, the county legislature has reduced from 25 to 19 members, and whether or not that's the optimum size or not, I'm not sure. If we're talking about efficiency and reducing county government, we may even want to take a look at reducing that further. Whether 15 might be the optimum number or not, I'm not sure. As Sue mentioned, the district is diverse. One day I'll be campaigning on Route 5 in Sheridan, the next day on the Ellington Town Road. It's a huge district. We have some small businesses and wineries in Sheridan in the northern part of that district, and we have a lot of dairy farms and agricultural interests in the southern part of the district. So it's the boundaries are quite large.
Mr. Coughlin, sorry.
Every once in a while, I like a softball question. The first part of my answer will be, I was in favor of downsizing even more than 19. So am I happy with the district and the number of legislators we have? No, not right now. Am I happy with the district? I'm not happy with the way the district came about. I think it was a tremendous slap in the face to the League of Women Voters, to the people on the commission that spent hours and hours and hours and hours trying to draw the best legislative lines that encompassed the different areas and gave the best Democrat, Republican percentages, whatever, to try and make the process fair. They worked hard, they presented it. Would they do? They got slapped in the face by the Republicans and they said no. And that's why I don't like my district.
Thank you.
Bill, were you involved in any of the reapportionments in 2000 or 1990?
No, I was not.
It's, you know, whoever is the majority party controls the reapportionment process, and that's just the way it is. It's the way it is, whether it's on a county level or a state level or a federal level.
I understand that. But my rebuttal would be the League of Women Voters and everybody worked very hard to come up with a nonpartisan plan, and I think that's the way to go. And I think to argue otherwise, that you're going to argue for the partisan plans, is just not it's being disingenuous.
Well,
Just as a point, there was a task force formed by the legislature.
I
Not that I
understand.
want to weigh in on this, but there was a independent task force.
I just heard somebody mention diversity in their district. I don't think there's much diversity in my district. They're all related to you.
That's the way
Could have drawn a line a couple of different streets.
And they're all here tonight.
Okay, another question.
Excuse me. No, I lost it. Where is it? I lost it.
Just having too
Oh, my
much fun.
goodness. Here it is. Do you think the county has a role in compensating for federal cuts in food stamps? Volunteers?
It's not on their list.
We have a role in,
Well, if the federal government cuts food stamps, what can the county do?
I'm not going to address it specifically to the food stamps, but clearly if you've watched what's going on in the legislature over the last couple of years, our county has a serious problem with not getting people off of the welfare rolls. I mean, we can blame a lot of things. It can be the industrial base has left. It can be that we've become a place where people move to get benefits and then become stranded here. Whatever we can do, again, whether it's a water district that creates more jobs in the food industry, food processing industry, things we can do to get people off of welfare, that is something the county needs to take an aggressive role in. The county has been lax, and we need to do what we can to encourage people off the rolls.
Thank you.
I like to admit when I don't know, and I really don't know. But I do know that somehow, and I don't know the total federal legislative process and the food stamp process, but I also know it's tied in with farm subsidies. So if it's going to be a reduction in farm subsidies that could be transferred to food stamps, I don't know. I'd have to call my, well, I wouldn't call my congressman, I'd call him Mr. Higgins.
Surely somebody has a question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say that whether or not the county should step in and up the reimbursement because of the cuts in the federal food stamp program, I think really what you have to do is take a look at the eligibility, okay? Now, just to sidetrack just a little bit. The county does have a welfare to work program. And our participation rate in that program was 10% last year. It's 19% this year. The state average is somewhere between 23 and 24%. For each percent that we raise from like 10% to 11%, we save approximately $500,000. And so I think as far as the welfare to work program, which Mike touched on, we need to do better.
Thank you. All right.
All right, we're going to end, oh, there you go. No, go ahead. Oh, I did.
Well, since you brought up the welfare to work, I work in that department.
Okay,
I work in the employment department.
okay.
As legislators, I would invite any of you to come down to the welfare office in Dunkirk, the mini welfare office that we have in Dunkirk, that has 10 cubicles in there, and we have to interview clients with no privacy, no confidentiality, and
Question,
no room.
please.
How would you change our welfare to work program when you have state mandates? And Mr. Nebo hit it on point with the mandates and the programs. You have to go to the state. The resource levels are null and void for food stamps and Medicaid. There is no resource level. Resource test, I mean. How would you change that?
To all the candidates.
It's open
How about a 1-minute response
from everybody.
from everybody, if you have a response?
We can't change the state or federal rules and regulations, but we certainly need to make sure that the employees have the staff and the ability to do what their job is, to follow those and get the people off of there. I was at last night's debate and heard you talking about the walls that aren't even full walls. And there clearly are things that need to be looked at. Hopefully with the new administration, and whether it's myself or somebody else in Mayville, they'll take a look at that. I don't know how you can do those things in a confidential nature and have partitions. I work a lot with the staff on the caseworker side, and I'm amazed too that the same situation, they don't have real offices. I know the design of the 60s was to make these open office spaces, but that's not what you can have for those kind of things, whether it's somebody's personal financials or their personal lives and what's going on in their families. That is something we need to address, and I don't know how we got to the point that you would move back in there without real walls.
Anybody else want to respond?
Yeah, I'll respond to that. Miss, I was a county employee. I know how hard county employees work. They really do. My comment centered on the financial aspect of the welfare to work program. So whether you need more people as far as intake workers, or whether you need the support of the county legislature or your direct supervisors, whatever you need to make the program work is something that I would certainly consider. My point was that there is and can be significant savings in that program. And whatever we have to do as far as working with the county employees, getting more support from the county legislature or even the county executive, that's what we need to do to improve that program, because there can be significant savings to the county taxpayers.
Anybody else?
Just,
Mr. Coughlin?
I agree in the betterment of your work structures and everything, and it's too bad the county has not addressed this. And it's not that the county hasn't known about it, and I believe that the program is a good program. But I would also like to bring to attention what happened when my dear friend Janice Slayton questioned the county executive about why they weren't going to address the problems for the social services in the city of Dunkirk. Too bad Jan's dead. Too bad we never got a chance to go to trial, but I think it was an vindictive act by the current administration. It was allowed to prosper by the people that's continued to run the government, and it was just a travesty, but we can't find out the answer, because when someone from government asked what was going on to try and support the workers, she was no longer working there.
Do you have a question?
guys gonna do to help the Department of DSS and the county home to stop it from being sold?
Me personally?
No, you as a legislator.
All right, well, if we're going to come back to the county home.
It's
what-
fitting, because it's the last question.
Okay. Now, and I was talking about lack of leadership. What to me is a total lack of leadership is when you have government officials running around saying the home is losing $7,000 a day. It is not losing $7,000 a day. If you discount the IGT money that is matched by the other government grants, et cetera, it is either just slightly losing money and sometimes making money. You cannot go to almost any department within county government, and if you take the grants away, there's not going to be a profit. That's the way it works. To just sit there and say we got to sell this because it's losing $7,000 a day is disingenuous. It's not telling the truth. It's like telling the same lie time after time after time after time. And the last time we saw that was in the 1930s in another country.
Who else would like to respond to
I would
that?
like to respond to that.
Okay.
In today's newspaper, there was a commentary about that. And it says here that we put up $1.8 million and received 100% return on our money. Now, I've checked into this, and it's all facts. This is not a story that this man wrote. These are facts, and our county executive has been lying to us. He's been deceiving us to get, because he has this goal to sell the county home. And Mr. Horrigan led the legislature to cut the grant money for this. They want it to go bankrupt, and they want to get rid of it. And we need to fight them. We all need to fight them. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Well,
Sorry, Mr. Scudder. Right now, we're
We'll get
answering a
Mr.
question.
And then we'll get to you.
The good news is we were at a $10,000 loss per day, supposed. Now we're down to a $7,000 loss per day. So the efficiencies, I talked about efficiency. It looks like we're gaining, folks, according to the numbers. It's hard to pinpoint these numbers. It's hard to know from one side you get one number, another, whether you're for it or against it, you get different numbers. One way that I'm going to help out with the county home is going to be tomorrow night. We're going to have a vote on the county home, and I will be voting not to sell the county home.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to comment before we start the closing? Somebody want, I know.
I would like to comment.
One moment, let him
We've
comment.
talked a lot tonight about what we can do to bring business here, bring industry here. I'm probably the most unpopular person with a lot of you, of all of us sitting here. I don't know if there's industrial leaders out there. I don't know if there's corporate directors out there that come looking for a place to locate a business and pick that place because they have a government-run nursing home. If we're going to do what we've all talked about, and that is to make this region attractive, to get jobs here, to get businesses to come here, we're not going to do that by holding on, whether we're losing $1,000 a year or we're taking IGT money, which is government money, and transferring it around. We have to face some realities. It's a horrible thing to say, and there will be people that will be very upset, but we can't afford to do everything. We used to, because we used to have an industrial base that just, here's the bill, pay it. And they paid it, and they paid it, and they finally got tired of paying it. And they moved. We need to stop the move. We need to stop, if there's going to be move, we need to get move coming back in. And we're not going to do it by sitting and holding on to something that the private sector is doing. There are over 1,000 people in nursing home beds in the southern part of this county. Yes, it's personal to us. We've all had family members there. I've had 3 grandmothers there. I had one that spent 6 years there, pretty much comatose. But that doesn't mean it can't be done by the private sector. And if we do that by the private sector, and we fix our water system, and we get a regional water, and we can go to industry and say, we're here, we mean business, we're working on consolidating our governments, we're going to stop spending your money for things we want, maybe need, maybe don't need. But we're going to stop spending your money, and we're going to...
Thank you. Yeah, we've got into water. We moved from county home to water.
Marcia,
Who else would like to?
Can I have a different opinion of my esteemed colleague?
No, you can't.
Mr.
You can if you're
Sullivan?
brief.
Okay. Look, Mike, I understand what you're saying, but I think what we need to do is, I think we need to look at the efficiencies of the county home, and I think we need to pay more attention to how that's run. I think we can operate that more efficiently.
Did you already
And-
respond to this question once?
No, not really. It was roundabout.
done.
Well, no, what I was
We
going to
have-
say,
we have-
Marcia, was that we,
We need to move on.
okay, we spend money on things like Finley Lake, Chautauqua Lake, and Jamestown Airport. We can spend money on the county home and infirmary.
Susan, did you want to respond?
Yes, I did. The reason that the county home has been holding its own is because of IGT funding. But previously, it hadn't had the IGT funding and was still making money. IGT funding is basically funded because we couldn't continue to have our assisted living part of the county home that we did have in the 80s. The business people here in Chautauqua County and in New York State had encouraged that part of elderly care to be given to the private sector. So, and in doing so, they offered us this exchange, tax funding exchange, for the depreciation that we might end up having due to that. So IGT funding is very important, and it's not just flim flam. We do have a lot of good people that would not be able to visit their family if all they could visit was the South County facilities that were not for profit. So we do need to keep a county home in county hands. If we sell it to the private sector, they could just as easily as the Lakeshore situation turn around and say, oh, we're not making a profit. That happened when we had taken it upon ourselves to sell the Manor Oak facility in Jamestown, and those people were wheeled out, done. And it closed with weeds growing around it everywhere. So we do need to take our elderly very seriously and consider them just as much protected as all the other people in our county. Thank you.
Hoping to spend our social services money in a more effective way. I agree with Mr. Sullivan and the aspect that we cannot change the federal and state rules, but we can direct welfare recipients into a more cost-effective way. Right now, our medical treatment is sent to the emergency room, the most expensive place.
We need the
to-
question.
Okay,
we
I
need to-
asked, would they charge the IDA to find a developer for an urgent care center in Northern County, similar to what we have in Jamestown?
1 minute responses, please. Who would like to respond?
Mr. Coughlin.
Without a doubt. I mean, the way the current system works, if someone goes to the emergency room, it's not cost effective. We spend too much money. We spend too much money on ambulance services. We spend too much money on all these different things and transporting people. Anytime you do that, if you can do something to encourage through the IDA to get this type of care, if it's manageable, if it's even legal, I'm not sure of the parameters or how they do these things and how they spend the money. I'm not a member of the IDA board, but I think that would be a perfect step to somehow cut back on people going to emergency rooms, of which I believe an emergency room is $500 visit. I've been to Brooks Hospital. When my wife broke her ankle, half the people were in there with a flu or a cold. That's not the way to handle health care.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to respond?
Well, just briefly, I never thought about that as an economic development tool, of having them out looking for those sorts of facilities. The hard part, of course, comes in when you force somebody to use that as their choice. It's hard enough now forcing somebody not to go to the emergency room or not having to cover that cost. But I don't know why you couldn't have an emergent care operation be the same as you're out seeking any other kind of an industry. I don't have a reason why we couldn't. I'm just not sure we'd be able to get all the benefit you're thinking of, but we got some, or at least had it there for job creation, it's certainly not a bad thing.
I think that if we get more people to sign up for the Affordable Care Act, people won't be going to the emergency room for colds and flus.
Okay.
We will now have 1 minute. 1 minute for a concluding statement in reverse order, beginning with Mr. Coughlin.
I think most of you from tonight kind of see what you get. You know, this is me, this is Billy. I get in trouble for it sometimes. I speak too much, my mind way too often. But it goes back to leadership, and what I believe is what someone in the county legislature should do. Unfortunately, I've been a member of the minority party, which you people can change. And because I've been a member, but what I have done, let's say what are the things where I could affect. The very first day I took office, I led the fight to throw out the current public defender, who was an unqualified public defender, who fired the most qualified public defender in the office, who at the same time was going through cancer, breast cancer. I think that was just atrocious, and that was a mark. But did any Republican besides Bob Duff go along with that? No. And I just thought it was deplorable. Let's take a look at the other thing I went after it, the Southern. Oh.
1 minute. I want to again thank the League of Women Voters, and I want to thank all the candidates who are willing to run for political office. This has been a rewarding experience for me, going to door to door. I have met a lot of residents, made some new friends, and was able to see some old friends. The people I spoke with are kind, upbeat, and optimistic, and it made me realize why I'm so proud to call Fredonia my home. I ask you all to vote on November 5th. If I am lucky enough to win, I will have over 5,000 bosses, all of whom I promise to represent to the best of my ability. My name, address, and phone number are listed in the phone book. My email address is listed on this card I left at your homes. You may see me walking around town. You will find me approachable, hardworking, and dedicated to my county. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We can hold that.
Mr. Scudder.
653? Okay.
It's Mr. Nebo.
No, 4.
Well, I'm going to go. I just want to tell you folks, the support I've received for the past 4 years has just been amazing. It's just amazing. Being re-elected to a second term was just as exciting to me as being elected for the first term. I feel I have served with openness, concern for the issues, not being political, but rather serving on the behalf of my constituents. This position as legislator is not always easy, but I love every minute of it. I'm asking for your vote with 3 campaign promises attached. I will be accessible, I am committed to the position, and I'm ready to serve. Thank you, ladies, for the opportunity to be here tonight, and I thank all of you for your support.
Mr. Nebo, we apologize.
No
We got
problem.
a little mixed up.
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters who have arranged tonight's debate and members of the public who are in the audience this evening. My name is Terry Nebo, and I'm a lifelong resident of Chautauqua County. As far as my educational background, I graduated from Fredonia State with a degree in business and economics. I attended St. Bonaventure University and graduated with a master's degree in business administration. I previously worked for Chautauqua County for 34 years, 2 years in the county finance department, 4 years in the office for the aging, and the last 28 years in the Board of Elections as a county election commissioner. In my career, I have been responsible for budgets and managing a department, which allows me an actual working knowledge of the process. Currently, I am a real estate broker and own a small real estate company in Sheridan. I also have a 20-acre farm with 10 acres of Concord grapes. My experience as a
Thank you.
okay, as a former county employee.
Mr. Sullivan.
All right.
Industrial leaders are not looking for communities that hold their own water plants and don't care about cutting costs. Industrial leaders are not looking for places overrun by multiple school districts and expensive overlapping town and village governments. Those are 2 areas that I have a vast experience in. I have worked on diligently for 20 years. I bring that to the table. an area that we need to fix. Despite our losses in our industrial base, we continue to ignore the signs. We ignore the fact that our high school graduating class have gone from 200 25 years ago to 100. We ignore the facts. We're shocked when Petrie closes. We're shocked when the hospital closes. We must stop ignoring the facts and, wow, that's a new beep. We must stop ignoring the warning signs and stop adding the straw to the camel's back, because we've got to fix it
I
now.
knew that was going to happen.
That was supposed to happen about a half hour ago. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening.
Mrs. Baldwin.
I'm Susan Baldwin. I'm running for legislator for District 5. I am a mother and grandmother of 6, and they all live in District 5 as well. I'm looking forward to spending all of my retirement time, if I need to try to address issues that we need in our county, because I have retired and have more than 40 hours a week more to spend paying attention to those issues in Mayville. I've been a nurse for 33 years working at the county home, and it's given me many opportunities to deal with little issues here and little issues there that are just as big as town issues, only not as multiplied. And I'm looking forward to being devoted and dedicated to our county and making it a good place, bringing in industry and pursuing it readily. Thank you.
This concludes our program. I want to thank all the candidates, both that are on the dais now and earlier candidates as well, for attending and taking your time. It's a very stressful situation for candidates, and I admire people who run for office. I would never do it. The League would also like to thank our voter service chair, Minda Ray Amaron, who coordinates all of the meetings that we had around the county. She does a great job, and our poor timekeeper, Percy Bernatz, who I was driving crazy. Percy did a great job. Fredonia Local Access 5 will be broadcasting this, has broadcasted this event live, and will rebroadcast it Wednesday at 7 o'clock, Friday at 7 o'clock, Saturday at 7 o'clock. And many thanks to Chip Rewald, who does a great job. Make sure you vote, participate. I know everyone here will vote because they have an interest in their candidates, and I hope you will grab 3 people and drag them with you. And don't forget to read about the proposals, Voter's Guide Part 2. On your way out, you can get a pamphlet.